could be us.
Hi, thank you for tuning in to Houston Recovery Radio. Houston Recovery Radio is a platform that tries to speak and bring people into the solution of recovery. We would like to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor, Transformation Enzymes, who has been kind enough to let us use this space we are in to host Houston Recovery Radio. Transformation Enzymes is an integrative, holistic health and wellness company that specializes in enzyme therapy. Detoxing from drugs and alcohol is physically and emotionally taxing on our body. Transformation Enzymes has a clinical proven line of probiotics and digestive enzymes that help the healing process the body needs from all damage caused by addiction and alcoholism. For more information, visit their websites at transformationenzymes.com. We would like to give a huge shout out to our guest, Monique Woods, who will be sharing her recovery story with us tonight. So, Monique, can you tell me your recovery date?
December 17th of 2018.
Okay, so.
That great grandmother, I no longer choose to abuse my body. I no longer choose to abuse the system. I don't use people, and I don't allow people to use me since finding recovery. So my story, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I am the only child of my mom, but she got married when I was 7. When she got married, I didn't understand what marriage was, so I was thinking like, I didn't know I wouldn't be able to sleep with her anymore. I didn't know that if I knocked on her door, my stepfather would answer. What I did know is that he had 2 children, a girl and a boy, and I was so happy to. I was out of my mind. So I was 7 at that time. So as the years progressed, things turned, and my sister would start to pull my hair and fight me, and she was really mean. And my stepbrother started to molest me at 10. And I didn't tell because he said no one would believe me. So of course I believed that. So I always believed that all of that had a direct effect on me choosing to use, because I couldn't find forgiveness in my heart. I had so much animosity. And so I started doing things like skipping school. I was a straight A student, but I started to skip classes, and I ended up getting pregnant at 16, and I had a baby. My father came to the hospital and said, "You're not coming home with that baby if you're not getting married." So I had a nice shotgun wedding, and me and this guy played house for 4 years. We fought every single day of the 4 years because nobody had taught me how to be a wife. I was a kid. I was 17 years old, and I didn't know how to be anybody's wife or anyone's mother. So I endured a lot of abuse from him. And one day I had got a job at the phone company, and one of the ladies pulled me to the side one day, and she said, "You know you don't have to take that," because I had 2 black eyes. She said, "You know I don't have to take that." Well, my mom had told me that you do have to take that. You cannot leave your husband. So she helped me to open a bank account, get moved into my own place. I had 2 children by this time. Okay. And I just didn't know that there was a way out of that. Okay. She helped me to do that. So I ended up meeting a new guy, and so he smoked marijuana. Okay. And my curiosity took the best of me, and I needed to try that. Okay. Because he looked so cool smoking marijuana. So, yeah. Then I started drinking. Okay. And, the AA books talks about the effect that alcohol has on me. Okay. And I loved that effect.
What effect would that be?
All my problems went away when I was drunk, and it seemed like I was sexier and I was cuter. I could talk to anybody now, and yeah, all of that was false in my head, but that's how I felt at that time. Okay. So we ended up working for an organization in Detroit called the Young Boys. They were a group of under 18-year-old males who were selling drugs in the area. And I started working for them. I started keeping their money, and they introduced me to powder cocaine. So every night when they made their money, they would all come over, we would shoot dice, and we would do powder cocaine. And I thought I was living the life. You know, I was making all this money with them and doing cocaine. That's what the rich people did, and drinking, and I was having fun, something I had never did in my childhood because my childhood was so traumatic.
Yes.
So finally I had this awesome life. And I moved into this beautiful house, me and my kid's dad and my second dad, not the first one.
Okay.
We got this nice house, and one day he came home and he had this thing. He was smoking out of it. And he was like, "You want to try it?" Well, sure. Why would I let you do anything by yourself? And it was cocaine. It was crack cocaine.
It's crack cocaine.
And I loved it.
You fell in love with it, love at first sight.
It was the best feeling in the world I had ever had. So, of course, you know, it was recreational. Every few weeks, a couple weeks or so, we get some, which was fine. I was still shopping. I was still paying my bills. We still had a nice home until I didn't. Until I stopped paying my bills. Until I stopped. We ended up having to move out of that house because we wasn't paying the rent. And my kid's dad ended up.
So Amber Alert.
Sorry, he ended up.
Oh, good.
Starting to sell crack because
Okay.
then we could smoke and, you know, have money left. So anyway, wherever he had took the drugs to, he ended up shooting that lady 6 times, and he went to prison. So here I am stuck with 4 children because I had 2 sons by him.
Okay.
I'm stuck with 4 children. My man's went to jail. I'm hooked on crack. No, I had 3 children because I was
Okay.
pregnant, but I'm just strung out on crack.
Okay.
So I don't want to have this baby because I don't know what crack does to babies. And my daughter talked me into keeping the baby because I was going to have abortion.
Okay.
She said, "No, please keep it and I'll take care of it."
Your daughter?
My daughter, she was 12.
Okay.
She said, "I'll take care of the baby. Just have it."
Okay.
So I did. I had my baby and I continued to smoke crack. And I regret that time so much because I would say things to her like, "Get your baby, he's crying." And I would say, "I know you have to go to school, but didn't you want X for this baby?" I was I was not a good mom. I stopped buying clothes and shoes and making sure my children were fed. I did not do any of that. So my mom eventually noticed, and my mom took my kids. Well, what she did was rescue my children. I know now. But at that time, I didn't see that. You know, I felt like she had took my children from me, and now I really had nothing. So why would I stop smoking now? You took the only thing I did care about. So I was so consumed in my addiction. At that time, I weighed maybe 90 pounds.
And how old were you then? How old were you
30.
during this time? So you were 30 at this
Yeah, I'm
time?
about 30. Yeah, well, close to 30, 25 or somewhere up in there.
Okay.
And I had on a pair of my daughter's pants. Now, she's 12 years old. They were size 0. But I had some sweatpants on under them because they were too big. That's how small I was. So my mother asked me one day, she said, "Are you sick? Do you have AIDS?" AIDS had just come out.
Okay.
I said, "No." And I was so offended. Like, how would you say that? Not even looking in the mirror to see how bad I looked. I regret that time so much because I wasn't a good mom. And I can admit that today. Because I used to tell a story that I was a good mom, that I fed my children. No, I didn't. My rent was $35, and I didn't pay it, and I got evicted. And they threw all my stuff on the line. $35 a month. I could not pay that.
$35 a month.
35. I could not pay it. And I was getting so much money from child support and TANF and food stamps. I was cashing those in, and I could not pay that $35. That's how consumed I was in my addiction. So I ended up losing my 4 children to my mom. She got custody of them. And I was hopeless, and I felt like I had nothing to live for at that time. So I ended up meeting another man.
Okay.
This was the one.
Okay.
He was the dream, my guy. He was tall and dark and handsome, and he was everything I wanted. Until I found out he also smoked crack. Then I thought, well, this is really going to work out. Because we are the ideal couple. We both get high. We're going to make this work, and it's going to be amazing. And it was, until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
So he was the type of smoker who got very abusive and started beating me up if I didn't prostitute to get him more drugs. And then he would take all the drugs from me once I did get them, or the money or whatever. And I happened to meet a guy one night that he made me talk to. And the guy ended up befriending me.
Okay.
And he ended up taking me to his house, and he was telling me that, you know, I didn't have to do that. That I was better than that. And so I'm asking him, well, what do you want?
Right.
Because every man I had ever met wanted something. He said, I don't want anything. And I couldn't believe it. All night I kept asking him, so what do you want? Because we're steady smoking, but you're not telling me what you want. Let's just get it over with. He said, I want to teach you something new besides prostitution. I was like, what? So he did. The next morning, I didn't go home.
Okay.
He took me to the store and taught me how to shoplift.
That's the new thing that he was going to teach you.
That was the new thing, and I was in heaven. Because at the end of the day, I had like $300 or $400. I didn't have to turn any tricks or anything. I felt like this was the ideal job for me. I can do this forever. And I did. And I made a lot of money, and I became the breadwinner, so I could tell him, I'm not giving you no drug because you're not beating me, and I got to run everything, and because now I had the money, so I had the control.
Okay.
And then I caught my first case.
How old were you when you caught your first case?
Well, I had caught a case in Detroit at like 18 or 19, but as far as during this addiction period, I must have been about, I don't remember, maybe in my 30s, early 30s. But
that was your first felony case, real.
That was my first felony.
Okay.
And after that, I kept catching cases. And I would get out, and I would stay out 6 months, 8 months. I would go in, do a year, get out, stay out 3 months, go back, do another year. I never could see that I wasn't good at shoplifting. I thought I was the best. Because at the time that I did it, when I got away, that I had so much going on, but I never thought about the times that I got caught. And I was young, and I was in the penitentiary, and I would see these women in there, and they would be older, and I would be thinking, why is that old lady locked up? And they would be like, we would be in the NA meeting, and they would say, that's because of my addiction has progressed, and now, and I would think, oh, I would never be that old sitting in jail. You know? Mm-hmm. Never. Until I was. So I kept catching cases, I kept going to prison. I decided that I should stop, and I went to treatment a few times. But every time I got out of treatment, I would use. I would stay clean for a minute, a period of time, but somehow I would always go back. I never could stay stopped because I never took the suggestions. I never got a sponsor. I never got some phone numbers and reached out to people. All I did was did the treatment, and then when I get home, I said, I can do this. I don't need to go to meetings. I don't need to have a sponsor. I can do it on my own.
So you didn't have a support from a community that could help you abstain from using substances?
No. I did have my family.
Okay.
But my family were addicts, and they didn't understand. So they felt like they could help me stay clean. And, you know, my children had got up by this time. And after losing my children, well, my son, my baby, when I lost him, he was 1. I got him back, he was 12. And I had got an apartment through the program, and got up to treatment, and my rent was free, and I was doing so well. And my son said, I've been raising myself all this time. You're not going to tell me what to do. So me and him started clashing, and every time we would clash, I would go to use. Because I would have all these feelings of guilt and shame, and I didn't know how to raise the kid, and I had worked all this time to get these kids back, and I was lost. So my only out was going to use. So every so often, every few months, I would go out for a weekend or 2 or 3 days, and I thought, like, that's not bad. At least I'm here for 3 months before I do that. But they didn't see it like that. They felt like I was doing the same thing that I had been doing their whole life, which was true, leaving them. So, as time went on, I got my son back at 12. One day, he must have been about 16, and he was so tired and disgusted with me, and he said, let's just go in the basement and fight. Because I'm tired of your mouth, and I'm just tired of you. Let's just fight. So we went in the basement, and I literally beat him like a man. And that was the point where I thought, I might need to do something about this. You know, I might need to get some help. And it was always the thought, but I didn't know how to go about doing it. You know, he started calling me the treatment queen because I was always going to treatment, and I always would get out and I would use. So I ended up, my mom ended up getting sick. Well, I moved to Alabama. One of my uncles had caught cancer, and he ended up calling me to help take care of him. So I moved to Alabama and left my kids. They were grown now. And my mom called me and she said, Monique, I have 2 weeks to 2 months to live. And I'm like, what? She said, you have cancer, and it's very progressive, and it's very aggressive, and I only have 2 months to live. I'm like, 2 months? I said, okay, well, I'm coming to Detroit then.
Okay.
She said, no, you don't have to worry. You don't have to come here. I'm going to be okay. So anyway, I catch a plane to Detroit, and when I get there, you know, we're sitting down talking. My mom's coherent, and, you know, I'm still in my addiction. But in the periods between her going to sleep and my aunts were there, and it was a lot of chaos, and I would leave out and go get high and come back. So one day I left, and as soon as I left, my aunt called. She said, get back to this house. And I was going to get drugs. I said, I'm coming back. I said, why? She died, didn't she? This was 10 days after I got there. She didn't even live 2 weeks. So she called me and she said, come back to the house. And I said, I'll be back, but I still want to get some drugs. I didn't even turn around. It didn't even dawn on me that she was dying, so I should turn around and go back to the house. Because crack had became the main thing in my life. So I ended up going back to the house, and my mom was on the bed. She was dead, and I kissed her. And I immediately went to the bathroom because I had dope. And they were calling me, and they were saying, Monique, they're going to take her out. The funeral home is here. They're going to put her in the black bag. And I kept saying, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see her in the black bag. But the reality was, I didn't want to see her because I had drugs. I hadn't smoked my dope yet. That's the reality.
It's the reality of it.
So I was in the bathroom smoking as they were taking my mom's body out. As the funeral home was taking her out, I was in the bathroom getting blood. So anyway, after that, you know, my stepfather, let me say this little part first.
Keep saying.
When I noticed that, well, when I told my mom about me being molested by my stepbrother, I was older. I was maybe 40 or so, but they never believed me. Not my mom, not my stepfather, not my stepsister. Because she said, my stepsister said, I was always there. That never happened. So my stepbrother, I would always plot in my head how I could kill him for what he did to me. Because here this man is coming around me and my children, my girls, and I gotta watch them so you don't get them. And you think that I don't remember? So I would always plot. So he started smoking crack first, and he ended up going to the crack house to rob them, shot 5 people, 3 of the people died. So he ended up going to jail for murder, triple murder, 3 murders. So when my mom died, he called. And my daughter answered the phone, and he's on speaker, and I can hear his voice. So I'm trembling. And he said, who is this on the phone? And my daughter told him, I'm Monique's daughter. He said, is Monique there? He said, she said, yeah, she's here. So I get to the phone, and I'm like, hello. He's like, why you never wrote me? He said, you know what? I know why. And I owe you an apology. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. You was a kid. You was a kid. I couldn't even talk because I was hysterical. But that's when my stepfather and my stepsister knew that I had not been lying. Because they had called me a liar all those years. And he finally apologized to me. So with him apologizing to me, I no longer had that excuse to use anymore. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I had to find something else to use, so it was never comfortable again. Because now I'm just doing it to be doing it. See, I was using that, I got molested, that's why.
That's why I'm getting high and smoking crack.
That's why.
And nobody believes me.
That's why.
And so I'm just going to get high and I'm just going to smoke crack.
Forever.
Forever.
Because I have this thing that happened. And you don't understand because it didn't happen to you.
So when he called him, he apologized. And finally...
Because he had found God in prison.
Okay.
And he apologized and he asked for my forgiveness. And with me being on the spot in front of all those people, of course I'm going to say I forgive you.
Did you truly within your heart forgive him? Or was it something that you had to
No,
work towards?
I didn't. Not truly in my heart at that time, no. But I just said it because all those people were around me. But now that I've said it out loud, these people know that I can't use that as an excuse. You know? They're like, no, you forgave them, so why are you still smoking crack? So time progressed, and when my mom died, I ended up leaving Detroit, and my daughter had moved to Houston. And this is like 2012, 11 or 12.
Okay.
I moved to Houston, and I came here. My mom had died. My stepfather didn't give me any of her $350,000 estate. He was a Jehovah's Witness, so he gave it all to the Jehovah's Witnesses. He ended up giving me like $6,000 or $7,000 off an insurance policy he had in my name.
Okay.
But I decided that I was not going to smoke crack when I got to Houston. I'm going to do the right thing for once in my life and for my grandchildren and my whole family. All my kids were here, and I'm going to do what's right. And I did. I came to Houston. I stayed with my daughter. I got a job at a limousine company, and I did really well there as a customer service agent. And I got a car, and I got this awesome apartment, and I furnished it with all brand new everything. And oh my God, life was so good. It was awesome. I never could have thought that I would stop, you know?
Right.
Until one day, when I got my check, I saw a lady at the light cleaning windows. And she said, you want your window cleaned? I said, no, I want you to get in. She said, huh? I said, get in. So I said, if you go get you some dope and get me some, I'll buy both of us some.
You thought it'd be a good idea?
I thought that it would be a great idea. And I promise you, when I was on the way to get the drugs, my mind said, first you're going to lose your job, then you're going to lose your car. It wasn't my mind. It was God telling me what was going to happen. But I didn't listen. So I ended up, now I'm back on crack. But I still have my nice apartment. I still have my job. I'm doing well. So one particular day, I got my check. So I get off at 5:30, but I wanted to leave at 5 because the drug man said he had something to do. So I had to hurry up. So I told my boss I have to get off at 5 today because I have something to do. She said, no, you have to stay at 5:30. That's your shift.
Yes.
So no, I could not stay that half hour because I had to meet the dope man and I had money. So I got up and left. And she fired me. So there goes my job. That's the first thing.
That's the first thing.
First thing. My car ended up stopping because the transmission or something went out. And of course I didn't have the money to get it fixed. So I lost that. I couldn't pay my rent. So there goes my apartment. And I'm back on that cycle again. And I was back where I had started the whole time. So
You got time.
I'm going too fast then. I ended up moving in with my daughter. And one of my sons is like, I want to say he's like a street guy. You know, he doesn't sell drugs, but he knows people in the street. He's very friendly and talks to the people
Very
in the
social.
neighborhood. Yeah. And I ended up telling him, can you find me somebody who does things like shoplift or checks or credit cards or something.
You needed a hustle to make that money.
Because see, I couldn't do prostitution because I never went back to that.
Okay.
You know, I felt like they didn't make enough money, first of all. But that was just my thinking because I was no better than them. But I ended up having him introduce me to someone who did checks.
Okay.
So when I started talking to him and he was asking me the different hustles I had done, and I went from shoplifting to credit card fraud. I went from credit cards to checks. Then I had went to identity theft, and I had done all these things to keep my habit up. So I ended up getting in a identity theft ring.
Okay.
And so the difference in Michigan and Texas prison system.
Okay.
So in Michigan we had, nice plush couches, and we watched the DVD player on the weekends.
This is a prison in where?
Michigan.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had a microwave, we could heat our food up, and I had a single cell. It just, wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the prison, but the jail.
Okay.
But it just wasn't that bad, So I come to Texas, and I'm doing identity theft, and I'm making all this money, and I'm doing things for my family. My son needs to get his truck fixed. I gave him like $700, and I'm helping my family, and plus I'm making money, but I'm so caught up in my addiction that I'm not realizing the money that I'm wasting. Because if I could use $700, I need at least $5 to buy drugs. But none of that ever crossed my mind because this was my normal now.
Okay.
I had lost my ability to see the other side. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
I had lost my my ability to see how normal people live.
So we're towards the end, and so now you're getting in trouble here in the state of Texas. You're going to jail, identity theft, and so you're getting closer to the end of the cycle, to stopping.
Yeah. So I get to.
What was your last stint? What was that last one?
2 things.
Okay.
I went to Plain State.
Okay.
When I went to Plain State, it was so hot. I thought I would have a heat stroke. Sweat would be coming off me like I just got out the shower. And I just couldn't believe that they lived like that because we all had air in Michigan, and I just couldn't believe it. So I met a lady in Plain State, And she said, when you leave, why don't you go to the women's home? I said, to women? Why would I go there? She said, to get, stability, to learn how to get in your recovery. And, they help you with this and they help you with that, and you'll do all these great things. And I said, I'm not going to the women's home after leaving prison, and I've been here a whole year. She said, well, where will you be next year if you don't go? I said, I don't know, but it won't be at the women's home.
Oh, so we're talking about the women's home off Westheimer?
Westheimer, yeah. I said, I don't know, but it won't be the women's home.
So the women's home is a treatment center?
It's a treatment center for women in recovery, and it's an 18-month program.
It's an 18-month program.
I said, I'm not committing to 18 months, and I just did a year. She said, where will you be next year? I said, I don't know, but it will not be at the women's home. So the next year, I was back at Plain State.
Was she still there?
No.
Okay.
But I had caught a new case.
Okay.
And I never forgot that. So I'm back at Plain State for the second year in a row. The guards know me now because they remember me from last time. But these women start coming in, talking to us. And they were recovery coaches from Santa Maria. And this lady named Miss Amelia Murphy, she came in and she pulled me to the side. And she said, we're about the same age. What you doing here? And I started telling her how I had this inability to stop smoking crack. And I didn't know how to stop. And I didn't know. I was lost. And I didn't know what else to do. And so she would come see me every few weeks.
Now, Amelia Murphy is...
Well, at that time she was the director of the recovery coaches at Santa Maria. I think she's something else now, but she's still in charge of recovery coaches, but she has a different title, and it's still helping women in early recovery sustain the foundation in the recovery process so they can move forward and become successful. So she's still there, and when you said her name, I got goosebumps. She is awesome.
She was the first one who taught me recovery. Recovery is a process of change in which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their potential. That was one of the first things I learned. So, yeah. We love you, Amelia.
Yes, we do. So she started coming in and talking to me.
Okay.
And if she didn't come, Sharon Hadley and Lillian Stevens came. I hate to use all these people.
No, use their names because we know them all.
But they started coming in and talking to me and giving me hope.
Wow.
Because Sharon Hadley was like, I was in that bed right there.
Yes.
I was like, what? She said, yeah, that was my bunk. And I started thinking, like, if they could do it, I could do this.
Yes.
Because their stories were so much like mine.
Lillian Stevens.
Yes. And I started saying, like, maybe there's a slight glimmer of hope that I can do this. So when I got out of prison, I started telling my kids, I'm going to be a recovery coach. And I'm going to be a recovery coach.
And she's a recovery coach, by the way.
Yeah, I would tell them I'm going to be a recovery coach. But I couldn't get the year clean. Okay. Because I kept going back.
Okay.
I got hooked in with Santa Maria, and I would go to their meetings and outpatient, and I did all these things, but I always would go back to using. So I ended up getting a house. The house was terrible, but it was my own.
Okay.
But my addiction spiraled so much out of control when I got that house that I was just crazy, mentally crazy. So one night I was trying to figure out, should I eat or should I get high? And getting high won out. I was thinking, like, as long as I get high, I won't be hungry. Anyway, so I might as well get high. Then I think about eating tomorrow. Well, the next day when I got up, I was literally starving because I hadn't eaten 3 or 4 days. I was starving. And that's the day I knew it was over. So I had nothing to do, and I got on the train. And I saw this guy on the train with all these tags. He had his key tags lined up, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And I looked over there, I said, I like those key tags. He said, you do? I said, yes. But in my head, I was thinking, I would love to have just one of those key tags. He said, I'm going to a meeting at the Rae Center right now. You want to go? I said, yeah, I'll go. I don't have nothing to do. So I went to the meeting at the Rae Center.
And the Rae Center is a
sober living community on Fanning and Alabama. And I went to the meeting, and at the meeting I saw a guy who was in treatment with me at West Oaks.
okay.
And he came up to me and he said, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. I said, I'm not doing well. I'm not doing well at all. He said, well, come here. Come to the Rae Center and get clean. I said, I would like to, but I don't have the money. I have been to the Rae Center twice before and left from using or got put out.
Okay.
And he said, I will pay your first week. I said, what? He said, I will pay your first week. And he did. He paid my first $100, and I've never looked back. I made a decision that day to take the chance on having a better life than going back to the one I had.
You took a gamble on you.
I took a chance on me. Yeah. I gave myself a chance, and I never looked back. The Rae Center gave me a job after being there like 30 days. I was house mom, so I got to see all the new people who come in, and it was so encouraging.
Yes.
Because I got to tell them that, yeah, I'm clean, and I'm going to meetings, and at that time I went to like 3 or 4 or 5 meetings a day. I never left that meeting hall if I wasn't working, because I didn't want to get caught up in the street and change my mind. So I stayed in meeting after meeting after meeting after
The meetings became your lifeline.
They became my lifeline. I got a sponsor. I went through the steps. It was amazing to me, the joy I had. I was overwhelmed with joy. I never knew that I could have that life. I never had given God a chance to come in. And I felt like, now that he's here, I'm so thankful to him. And how could I possibly disappoint him by using it? So I never looked back. So every day I lived my life to please God. I ended up working as a house mom for maybe about 6 or 7 months.
Okay.
They promoted me to case manager.
Wow.
So as case manager, I help all these women with resources.
Okay.
If they need a job, if they need health care, or whatever they need, then I help them find it. So someone said, that's the job of a recovery coach. I said, I forgot I was going to be a recovery coach. So I ended up getting my gear, and I ended up talking to the CEO of the Rae Center.
Okay.
And he paid for my recovery coach class. He asked me one day, he said, what are your goals, Monique? I said, I want to be a recovery coach. He said, I'll pay for that class for you. I said, you will? He said, yeah. So he paid for that class for me. So I ended up putting in all these applications after I finished my class.
Okay.
All these places, Santa Maria, Houston Recovery Center, Sobriety Matters, all these places, and no one would give me a job. They said I didn't have enough clean time. They said my felonies were too new. I forgot the story about the felonies. How much time we got? How much time we have? I'm sorry.
We are at 8:40, so we got about another 20 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the story real quick.
Okay.
In the process of me catching these felonies and going to Plain State,
Okay.
after going to Plain State twice, the next year I caught a new case,
Okay.
drug possession.
Okay.
And they sent me to the thing called Rick Court.
Okay.
So I get to Rick Court, and the judge says, I'm going to give you probation. And I'm going to send you to treatment. I said, probation? I had never had probation in my life. I was like, he giving me probation? And he did. And I didn't do what he told me to do. I kept using. So I did these 3 positive urinalysis to my probation officer.
Okay.
She turns them into him, and I go to court, and she says, you know, he's going to need some time. I said, I know, but I'm ready to do my time.
Okay.
I go back to him, and he says, I see something in you. I'm going to give you probation again. And I'm gonna send you to West Oaks. I'm like, what kind of judge is this? So he did. He sent me to he sent me to West Oaks. I did my days at West Oaks, and I'm on probation, and I used because that's all I knew.
That's all you knew what to do.
That's all I knew. I used again. So I ended up catching a new case.
Okay.
So the new case was identity theft, but they didn't call it that. They called it tampering with government evidence because I had a fake ID. So this was a new judge. It wasn't the Rick Court judge.
Okay.
And she says, so as I look at your career, Miss Woods, you're a career criminal. And I think it's time to sit you down. I'm going to give you 25 years when you come back. I said, excuse me? She said, yeah, you're a career, you've done nothing else your whole life. I'm gonna sit you down, give you some rest. So my lawyer spoke up and she said, can we talk to her other judge who gave her that probation first and make sure he's okay with it before you do that? And she said, yeah, talk to him. What? When I went back to court, she says, go talk to that other judge. I said, huh? She said, yeah, he's waiting for you. I get over there and he says, there's something about you. I am not going to send you to prison. I could have went through the floor. I was so prepared to go to prison. I had on my T-shirts. I had on extra socks. I had on all this stuff because I was prepared because I knew I was going to prison. And he said, I see something in you. And he gave me another chance.
God said no, and he opened a door.
No. And this time, when I left West Oaks and got out of that house and I went to the recenter, I have never looked back because it was time. I was tired. You know how I told you when I was young, I would go to prison and those old ladies would be in there and I would be like, I am not going to be that old sitting in prison.
Yes.
I became her. I was auntie in the pod. I was mama in the pod. OG. All these things that I had called all those older ladies. And that was me. I was the oldest one. Prison. So it was time for me to stop. Anyway, I got a job, and I finally got a job with Miss Dorothy West at Center for Recovery and Wellness Resources. I went there to pick up my certificate for the class.
Yeah.
And she said, I told her, I said, I'm having a hard time finding a job. Nobody will hire me.
That's where you got your recovery training at.
I took the recovery coach training, finally. And Mr. and Mrs. West was so nice. She said, I said, I can't find a job. She said, well, why didn't you apply here? I said, huh? She said, you didn't apply here? I said, I will. So I put my application in. She said, okay, we'll call you. So I drive down the street, and her secretary calls me. She said, they want to talk to you. And she said, you have an interview. I said, what day? She said, right now. So I turn around and go back.
And they hired you right on the spot?
No, I go back. They had an interview with me, and they said, okay, we'll call you.
Okay.
So I leave. As soon as I get down the street, they call me. Come back, we want to talk to you. And he said, we want to offer you a job.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I said, what? And he was asking me how much pay did I want. And I said, you know what? I don't care what you pay me. Because I need to help these women.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how to stop. And I didn't know how to stay stopped. So I want to help the next woman who doesn't know how to stop.
So now you have found your purpose in life.
I have found my purpose.
And your purpose is to help other women who are struggling in their addiction to come over to the other side.
And see how great it is.
So how great is it? Share with our audience how great recovery is.
Oh my God. So I'm in a program now for women who have been to prison.
Okay.
And are homeless.
Okay.
Leaving the recenter, I went to this program. It's called Bridges Hope.
Okay.
So Bridges Hope gives SRO, single room occupancy apartments,
Okay.
to women who've been to prison and are now in recovery.
Okay.
So we have a therapist, Comes with the apartment. We have meetings
Wait
twice
a
a
minute.
week.
A therapist comes with the apartment.
A therapist comes with them.
That's great.
Yeah. So I get to continue my program around these other ladies. And the ladies at Bridges Hope are encouraging, and we clap for each other, and we motivate each other. And you know, if we have job references, somebody needs a job, you're hearing about that. And if you're going through something, they're pulling you to the side and praying with you. And oh, it's just awesome to know that these women went through what I went through, and now we're doing all these great things.
A community of
A
support.
whole community of support. So yeah, I'm in Bridges Hope. I work as a recovery coach. Woo-hoo! For Center for Recovery and Wellness Resources for Dorothy and Dylan West, who also have recovery homes. If you know, you need sober housing, they have sober housing, and you can just walk in and say, I need a recovery coach. I need somebody to guide me, to help me make the right decisions, to help me know where to go to get help.
Okay.
And we do that, and we help people who are on medical assisted treatment, who may need Suboxone or methadone or whatever you need to get sober or to maintain your life of recovery or start a life of recovery. We're willing to help you. And that's my job now, and that's my purpose. Every day, if I just help one person or say one thing to stop someone from going backwards, then I've done my duty, because that's what God made me for. And I know that that's why, because I got so much joy. You know, I go through issues too, you know, like everyone else has things, but I'm in that club, and no matter what happens, I will not go backwards. It's gotten so amazing in these 18 months that I never even knew life could be this good. And imagine how good it's gonna get if this is only 18 months.
Exactly.
I have an awesome relationship with my children. My granddaughter just had a son, and I'm a great grandmother. And you know, I didn't do right by my kids. But baby, my grandkids, they don't know that lady. When they see me, they holler, Nana, Nana. They love me because now I'm fulfilled, and now I'm doing God's purpose. So my life is just so full of joy, and I'm overwhelmed with thankfulness and gratefulness. And if I can do this, anybody in the world can stop and stay stopped. Grab somebody, call the Center for Recovery and Wellness Resources. We will help you. I promise that if I can stop using, anybody in the world can stop. It's a God thing. Thank you.
When I heard you say your grandchildren don't know that woman, and I feel that same way, kind of.
They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know.
They don't even know.
They don't know that woman, right? So I can relate in that way, because too, when I came into recovery, I couldn't do it for my children, right?
Yeah.
But I'd be damned.
That's right.
I'd be damned.
That's right.
If I wasn't going to do it for my grandbabies.
That's right.
So when I went into recovery, my babies were small, and so now my grandson's going to turn 7.
Yay!
Next week. My granddaughter turned 8. I have 2 grandsons that are 4, and they'll never gonna know that lady.
That's right.
And her active addiction, right?
Yeah.
And so I got a little teary, right? Because
me too.
I get my first paycheck at the new place that I'm working at, and man, it's a damn good paycheck.
That's right. Yeah.
And so what I'm gonna do with my paycheck is, of course, I'm going to send my son some money. He's doing time in the federal penitentiary for a lifestyle that, you know, I impacted, that I taught him. And so, of course, I'm going to send him some money. And I'm going to take my babies. I'm going to spend my money on my babies. Right. And I'm going to plan an outing with them, right? Because it's important to build those relationships with our children and with our grandchildren, so that whenever time gets difficult for them, or they experience some uncomfortableness in their life, that they're going to have that one person
that they can come
to. That'll be Gammy. That'll be Gigi. Right. What do your grandbabies call you? Nana. That'll be Nana. and they can come and they can have that conversation with you, right?
Yes.
And so building those relationships with our grandchildren it's what's so important to me. And even now when my daughter calls me, right, because when I got into recovery, my daughter was still she's like she's like she's gonna go back. She's waiting. She's waiting. Any day now. She's gonna go back.
Yeah.
This I don't believe it, right? So I want to say maybe after 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
After 3 or 4 years, she finally realized that lady ain't going back.
That lady ain't going back.
That lady ain't going back.
That's right.
And so now I tell her, who I am today, because she has a lot of trauma associated with my using days.
Yeah, my daughter's too.
So we're talking about it today, and she goes, I just don't, this it triggers her, and I have to tell her, look, Cynthia, her name is Cynthia. I love you, Cynthia. I love you with an S. I have to say, when you get into that moment, Mommy, I said, I need you to think that your mother is no longer there.
Yeah.
That your mother is where she is today.
Yeah.
And be okay with that, Cynthia, because like you're a recovery coach and you're helping women and you're helping them build stable foundation in the recovery process.
Yes.
I became a drug counselor.
Yes. See? that's our purpose.
So I told her that's what I do now, Cynthia, and so I need you to understand that woman is dead. I buried that. I want to say I buried that bitch 6 feet under, and she's never going to come to the surface ever again. Not if I have anything to say about it.
That's right.
And I hear you, and I hear you sharing your story, and God, it's an amazing one. And I haven't heard it because Monique is my Facebook friend.
Yes.
And so I've seen Monique throughout, I want to say about 1.5 years. She's been my Facebook friend, so I have seen her grow. I have seen her share her celebrations on Facebook. I have seen her share her grandchildren, her life, who she's become today. And so I watch for that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I invited you on the show, because I wanted to hear it. And I wanted our audience here on Houston Recovery to hear your story, right? Because people that come into recovery do not know what they're going to look at.
Yes.
Right? They don't know where they're going because they're fearful. Yes. And I've heard you when we were having that conversation, that fear played a really big part.
I didn't know what was on the other side. I had no idea that this is how good recovery is. When I used to go to meetings, I used to think they were lying. These people are not clean for real. They leave here and smoke crack. That's what I thought. Because that's what I was going to do. So I thought everybody did. Wow. I never have to pick up again.
Yes.
Ever. I can always call somebody.
Yes.
And, I need people to know that they can call me.
Okay.
I'm always available. I am willing to help anybody who wants help. Because I know how it is. Half of you want to stop and you don't know how. And I remember all of that. I remember getting high and crying. Because I wanted to stop so bad. But what else was I going to do? I didn't know. I was scared. It was that fear. I didn't know that this side was so amazing. I could not comprehend anything to make me go back. Nothing.
Not even your bad day or the worst day. Nothing.
Nothing.
Because we've learned to live life on life's terms.
That's right. I'm so honored that you asked me to. I am. I always doubt myself, like, maybe I'm not doing enough, or maybe I'm not. But these kind of things make me know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
You're enough. You're right where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
You have found your purpose. You're helping countless of other women through their recovery process.
Yes.
And even by the little words, even by you being present, just showing up, just being there, says volumes, right? Sometimes you don't even have to talk. You just be there. Right?
Yes. Yeah. And be a listener.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people just need to tell you what they're going through. Oh, I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, I just there's this girl here that Vanessa Baldwin. You really helped me tonight.
I know
needed
Vanessa.
To hear this.
Hi,
I'm
Vanessa.
struggling again, and your story reminded me of what recovery can do.
Yeah, call me, Vanessa. You have my number. Yeah, she was one of my sponsors. Yes, I do sponsor women also. Leave my number or no?
We will put it on the website. They can message. How would they do that, Daniel?
What's that?
If they wanted to get in contact with Monique.
I could at the end of this video, I could leave a comment saying if you want to follow whoever. Just
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah, they can contact me.
You know.
Yeah. I love Vanessa. So people were really watching.
Yes,
Wow.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I put my glasses on. And so we would like, would you like to give out any shout outs to anybody?
I'm really thankful for the Center for Recovery and Wellness Resources, Mr. West, Mr. Dillon, the Recenter. All those people know who they are. Anybody who had an impact on my recovery, especially the Rick Court judge. Oh my God! Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And of course, God is always first in my life. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for tuning in to Houston Recovery Radio. We will have another guest on Friday at 8 o'clock. We're struggling to find the right equipment for our audio production side of things. If any of y'all want to donate any equipment to Houston Recovery Radio, give us a shout out via Facebook or Twitter. We have a GoFundMe page. Anything helps. It's like $5. The money we raise will help us give more and more back to the community. We also have an entry-level sponsorships for people or companies that want to help as well. Thank you for all the support and well wishes through this process. Without this community, we wouldn't be able to do this. So that's all for now. See you on the next one, guys. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
To Houston Recovery Radio.
Yes.